Welcome, everybody, to the Hoosier Football Tailgate here on the Hoosier.com. I'm the Coach Shannon Griffith. Thank you for joining us tonight for a special recruiting edition of the show. If you're watching live, let me know where you're watching from. Drop that city in the chat. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's talk some Hoosier football. Folks, there's a lot of excitement surrounding this Indiana recruiting class for the 2027 year. As we sit here tonight, the Hoosiers have 11 commitments, 4 blue chip prospects, and a class that continues to climb inside the Big Ten rankings as well as the national rankings. Recruiting is never finished in June or July, and we know until they sign those letters of intent, this could change on a drop of a dime, as we all know. But if you're an Indiana fan, you have to feel good about this direction of this class is heading. Tonight, we're going to look at this group from a coach's perspective, not just the stars, not just the rankings, not just the offers. We're going to talk football. We're going to talk roster construction. We're going to talk position value, and we're going to talk about how these players fit the future of Indiana football. So we're going to start tonight with the recruiting board that I've got up here right now. And you look at the recruiting class. I kind of look at 3 things: the rankings, conference rankings, how many blue chips. Those 3 numbers tell me whether a program is moving forward or falling behind. Indiana is moving forward with this week's 3 big-time commitments as we head into this month of June and the camps that are heading up right now. So it's going to be a month where we're going to get a lot more of these recruits making commitments. I do suspect some more 4-star players to make a commitment to the Hoosiers as we head into these last few weeks of the June recruiting period. July would most likely be a dead period. We've got a bunch of camps going on right now, the 1-days, as well as official visits. Head on over to the on3.com and get all the information from commitments to upcoming visits, as well as the Hoosier.com. They'll have a story about any commitments that the Indiana gets here in the next few days, and you can get all that there at the Hoosier.com, as well as On3. And of course, Rivals has a great deal. And we're going to look at some of that tonight when we look at this from that perspective. But it's going to be a very, very interesting month of June when you think about it. And this is going to be pretty exciting when you think about the number of potential 4-stars that Indiana could get. And we're going to look at these guys that are the 4-stars on tape tonight, and as well as everyone else. If you got a question tonight, make sure you go ahead and drop that in the chat. We'll be glad to try to get it answered for you and see what we can do. If I don't answer, we'll try to get it to you at some other time. But again, this class is looking pretty sharp. And that is going to be something that we're going to have to take a close look at when you start comparing where Indiana is at overall, not only in the Big Ten, but as the national rankings, because last year that was their highest ranking. But really appreciate it and appreciate the things that Indiana is trying to accomplish with this recruiting class. I know a couple months ago, there was kind of some uneasiness when you talked about recruiting with Indiana, because at that point in time, they really didn't have any 4-stars in their recruiting class at that point in time. And then things started to fall in Indiana's favor, and they've picked those up here over the last few days. And that took a class from probably being a average class to start to a class now where there's a lot of optimism about some of these guys that Indiana has gotten commitments from. And that's what it takes when you think about it. But right now, when you look at the Indiana versus the Big Ten, I have them, there's many different ones out there that have them in different scenarios where they're sitting up at as far as overall positioning and stuff. I know that in some respects, the big boards and that have them some as high as 7, some is, kind of in the middle of the pack. And when you think about it, and I'm going to try to get over to that here in a second, but it's going to be one of those things that is going to change as we get going here. I'm trying to get over to the on 3 aspect of things where we can get more of a look at some of this. Let's get over to here and see if we can get some of this up. Bear with me here as I try to pull it all in, as they would say in that respect, and get it up so everybody can see it. Let's see. Here we go. Make my head a little bit smaller so we can look at it in a way that hopefully we can get it blown up here. Let's do this to really get it up. And I'll try to blow this up some more and zoom in so that we can have a better look at this group of recruits. Daggone it. Well, anyway, right now you can see on the on 3 page, you got Myles Smith. Now, he was the first one to drop from Farmington. I'll show you this kid's going to be dynamite when it comes down to it. He is a freak of an athlete, 4-star. Indiana beat some big-time schools for his services. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be a very big thing for Indiana to keep recruiting him, because there's going to be people that's going to definitely try to take his services away from Indiana. And I'll show you why in a second. Mason McDermott, the offensive lineman, was another one that dropped quickly here in the last couple of weeks. Big 6'7", 290 from Noblesville. Reinaldo Perez is the other 4-star. And the Talley-Rhodes running back out of Washington, D.C., there's a mixture between 3 and 4 stars with his ranking. And I know we were counting it as a 4-star earlier, but it's showing him back to a 3-star level on 3. So that is something that's changed in the last day or so after he announced yesterday. So in the last 24 hours, he's gone from a 4 to a 3. So that'll be interesting to take a look at and see what's going to happen with all this. But when you look at this group, the foundation of these 4 stars, Myles Smith, again, this kid is a big-time athlete. He is a guy that makes things happen. Whoops, made that a little bit too big. There we go. He is a freak of an athlete, as you can see here. His rivals ranking all the way across, number 7th player in the state of Michigan. He's really, really good, and we'll show you why. He's got great length. He's got great speed, but you can see Michigan, Michigan State, Oklahoma, Kentucky. There's even more teams in there, and you can see where he visited. I mean, he was at Michigan 4 times. So when you think about it, that's kind of crazy in that respect, that he was visited there 4 times. But when you think about him and his ability as a player, he is, you'll see on tape, and maybe you've already seen some tape, Mason McDermott being another foundational piece. We talked about him earlier out of Noblesville. I thought this was a huge get for Indiana considering who had all offered him. Northwestern Iowa and UCLA were in the mix, but it came down between Indiana and Iowa. And this is one of those battles that Indiana in the past would not have won. Most kids would have gone to Iowa. And that's something that's changed in the last few years with Sigs coming in, changing the culture, winning a national championship. It's put Indiana's brand awareness on a national level as opposed to just a Midwest regional level. And that has helped them immensely, especially with kids in Indiana. Now, the big one we're waiting on is Moshawn Sales, the wide receiver from Lawrence North, I believe. We'll see what happens with him, but that kid is a difference maker as well. Reinaldo Perez, this kid is out of Columbus Academy over in Ohio. He's a great looking kid, 6'4", 240. He's a project. I mean, he's got the body to be a 6'5", 300-pound plus 3 technique. And he's got good length. He's got pretty good quickness for a big man. And Indiana, as you can see, beat Ohio State, Michigan State, Stanford, and Florida. He actually visited 9 times to Ohio State. So here's the kid that Indiana's got a commitment from, but they're going to have to keep recruiting him. And maybe Ohio State said they weren't going to have money for him. You don't know what all the reasons why there. But this kid will be a great project for Indiana at the defensive line position. And I do think that's going to be huge in that respects with these 4 guys setting the foundation and any other 4 or 5-star recruits that come in. Let's see. I know I've seen some comments and also some questions. Appreciate that, Brian. Try to do my best. Sometimes the technology kicks my you-know-what in that regard. Yes, winning changes everything. There's no question about that. And it's one of those things that I call it brand awareness, because Indiana's brand awareness was so confined to just really Indiana and outward a little bit. But when you look at it now, it is a national brand, and Indiana's gotten some great things with that. When you look at some of the stuff that Indiana and Sig has done in that regard. Looking at this one now, the offensive core units, we're going to talk about these guys first. You know, this kid, this Jamison Purcell kid out of Illinois, he's been doing great in the Elite 11 camps. And, you know, he's a lefty. He's a solid 3-star. You know, he's 6'1", 6'2", 200 pounds. He throws it well, got great mechanics. He's a kid that committed early to Indiana. And I do think this young man can really sling it. Now, you can see, even though Indiana got a commitment from you, got Nebraska, Wisconsin, Miami, Florida, all offered this young man. And so Indiana has held on to a kid that has got more and more exposure, especially through this Elite 11 camp, where some of the bigger boys have come in and offered him, but he's been solid with Indiana for this point. That's going to be one of the big ones, I think, when it comes to solidifying this class when you talk about offense. Now, the other one here is, let's go here, the Sharp kid out of Brownsburg. This kid's fun to watch. Now, he says he's 5'9.5", if he's 5'7", I would be I'd be questioning it still, but this kid can fly. He's got great speed. Again, Brownsburg, very good program. Again, Purdue was, West Virginia, Iowa State, Virginia Tech, kind of in the same boat that, you would think for this kid. This kid's got great speed. He's going to be an inside guy for the most part. And he's one of those guys that you can get him lost against coverage. Some of these guys that are short and stout in stature find a way to hide when they run routes and pop out at the right time and we're wide open. This is that type of kid. We'll look at him on tape here in a second too, because he's kind of an electrifying player when you think about it, when it comes to that. The other kid is, let's see here. We'll come back to that. Yeah, let's talk about Jordan. This kid out of Georgia, nice looking body. I compare him to Becker in terms of his stature. That good lanky type of guy, runs good routes. And, he was quite, recruited against some of these guys, with offers from Kentucky, Wake Forest, and Cincinnati. It's again, this kid, he reminds me, he may not remind you, but he reminds me of Becker quite a bit. And his approach and stuff. And I thought this was a good pickup, a solid pickup to add to the room. Quick question here. I do not know if that is true. New Life, if he's related to Jamari Sharp. Don't know for sure, but doesn't mean he isn't. But I don't know that as a fact with everything. But that kid from Jordan is a good time player. Now, this kid, other offensive player that is in this class, 3-star, this kid's a great project. 6'6", 270, Jeremiah Jones, up from the region area, Michigan City. He's got the potential to be a really good tackle. And he's got all the tools. He's a little bit light in terms of his strength. He's going to have to get in the weight room. Here's a kid that, 6'6", this kid will be a 310 offensive tackle if things work out right with him. But again, Indiana was the only big time program to offer him other than some of the MAC schools. And I'll tell you why, because he's such a project. But this is the type of kid that Coach Bosted would recruit when he was at Wisconsin, and they would take a guy like this and they would make him into a great player because he has things that you cannot teach. He's got size, all those things. He's got great arm length. He's just going to be a kid that's going to have to earn his time in the program. So that's going to be a key component with him and everything with it. But those are some of the guys in that offensive class that I'm excited about. We'll take some looks at him here in a second. But head on over. And again, the other one in that class is the kid out of Washington, Talley-Rhodes, 5'10", 210. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Black. And the way he's kind of built and the kind of way he runs. But this kid, again, was heavily offered Boston College, Penn State, Virginia Tech, Washington, and number one player in DC. He's good. He's a big time running back, and we'll take a look at him and why Indiana took a kid like that, because he is something special, I do believe. When you look at the defense, we've talked about Myles Smith, what he brings to the table. No question about his. Garyon Hobbs, the kid out of Kentucky. This kid is a hitter. I'll just say that. When you watch this kid, he will light you up, and he has a nose for the football. But again, Notre Dame, Kentucky, Clemson, Michigan all had offered him was at some point in the process. So this kid, but I tell you what, this kid a light year, up. The other kid is this Brady Scott kid. This is a kid that just committed, I think a week ago. He's out of Massachusetts, Tabor Academy, pretty good academy. He's 6 foot, 195. He's another kid that's got a great nose for the football, but he can cover. He does some great things as a safety. They like to do some of the rotations that maybe Indiana has done with some of their zone blitz packages. So he strikes me as a very smart, athletic player that has great football sense, that he will be a guy that will find his way on the field within a couple years, in my opinion, because of how he plays. And you'll see what I mean when we throw on the tape of him. But again, Tech, Penn State, Louisville, a kid that had several other blue bloods offering him. He chose Indiana. And I think he chose Indiana because the style of defense that Brian Haynes runs and what this kid probably enjoys doing in that respect. So we'll get to some of those guys here. And then let's see. Rico Jackson, kid out of Maryland. Another corner, nice size corner, 5'11", 170. He's a kid that can lock it up and play one-on-one. And I don't want to say he reminds me of Pons. I'm not saying that he is Pons, but the way he positions himself and plays and technique-wise, he does have some of those characteristics. Now, if he can be a Pons, then that's a great pickup. Not saying that. He just reminds me, when I watched him on tape a little bit, of his ability when he's out there doing his thing, per se. But again, these are the guys we're going to take a quick look at here in a second. But we're going to step away and take a break first to get about the Hoosier.com and the Fanatics store. We'll have some of that, those links. I'll put it in the comments section for you guys if you want to get over there to that. But we're going to step aside, take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more and get to the video of the kids that have committed to the Indiana Hoosiers thus far. All right here on the Hoosier.com. We'll be back right after this.
Hoosier fans, if you want the best coverage of Indiana football, basketball, recruiting, and the Big Ten, there's only one place to be. Join the Hoosier.com, powered by On3. Get insider recruiting intel, team news, transfer portal updates, premium analysis, and exclusive coverage from the staff that covers Indiana athletics every single day. Right now, new subscribers can get 50% off their first year. And after that, it's just $119.99 per year. Don't miss breaking news, VIP content, and championship-level coverage. Visit thehoosier.com today and stay ahead of the game. Thehoosier.com, your home for Indiana Hoosiers coverage. Indiana football fans, get your officially licensed Indiana gear today at the Hoosier Tailgate Fanatics storefront. Jerseys, hoodies, hats, collectibles, tailgate gear, and championship apparel, all in one place. Look for the link in the description to the Hoosier Tailgate storefront and gear up today.
Welcome back here to the Hoosier Tailgate on the Hoosier.com. Again, thank you for joining us here this evening. Appreciate it. And before we get over here and make sure I get that link in the chat box for the Fanatic stuff. And again, quick look at this position breakdown. Offensively, you can see that Indiana has about 4 or 5 of them in there. And defense, they don't, they're going to have some more pop in, of course, over the next few weeks. But I think Indiana still needs some tight ends, maybe another running back, of course, D-line, linebacker. And I do look for them to potentially add a wide receiver or two because of they're going to get hit by graduation again coming up. But I do think they're on the right track when you talk about some of this stuff with Indiana and what they need with everything. And I do think that's something to be aware of, that again, they got to get their a couple of linebackers, maybe another corner, maybe. Again, I do think if there's a quarterback out there, they will probably look to take another one. But I think Sig is pretty much in tune with taking a portal quarterback every year, or it looks to be that way until he feels like he's got a guy that's better than anything that's in the portal. And that day could come. And, but it also could be something that hurts the Hoosiers when it comes to recruiting quarterbacks if you continue this, avenue of approach with quarterbacks out of the portal. But we'll just have to wait and see with all that. It's been a crazy week when you talk again about college football. I don't know if anybody had a chance to watch the discussion on the Hill, as they call it, Congress, with talking about this new legislation for, the NIL portal and all that good stuff. It was a very good, if you can watch it, go to YouTube, you can probably find it there. Of course, Saban was there. He had his say and everything, but at least they've got a framework for something to have some dialogue about. It's not where it needs to be. Big Ten and SEC has already come out against it. That's okay. But at least they've got a framework in mind that they can work on. And hopefully they can get some common ground here with some of these rules and such and get a control on some of the money issues that they, are worried about, and come up with a fair and equitable system to navigate NIL, the television deals and such, and keep, the non-revenue sports still around. Because if they don't get this stuff in control, you're going to see a lot of non-revenue making sports go bye-bye very quickly, because schools won't be able to have a broad-based athletic program, and those teams will turn into club teams more than likely. But again, at least we've got something to work on and potentially have some of the issues with everything, because again, like most of them have said, they don't believe it's sustainable the way it is now. Even Sig mentioned that so ago of, him not saying that, this runaway train. And if you look at some of these kids, with the incoming kids, they don't even step on the field. They haven't even played a down of college football. I mean, some of these big timers are getting $500,000, $700,000 to go to a school. And that's crazy to think that some of these kids are coming in red hot to all this. And it's crazy to see that how much this has changed in such a short period of time. But anyway, let's get over to the Quick Cut video room. If you're just joining us tonight, we're breaking down the Indiana 2027 recruiting class and looking at the future of Hoosier football under Curt Cignetti. We've discussed the foundation. We talked about that. We discussed some of the offensive core, defensive identity. we're going to take a step back now and look at it, this class, from a roster construction standpoint. Because it's not about just finding, the good players. It's about building a football team from A to Z, which Sig is a masterful guy I've ever seen in terms of roster construction and how he allocates things with the recruiting, be it the portal, be it with fresh, the 4-year guys. I think he's pretty good at what he does in that regard. But we're going to take a look here in just a second with this. But again, if you're wanting something like I'm going to show you here with the Quick Cut, they've been a proud sponsor of Hoosier Tailgate since the inception. Coaches understand the importance of efficient film breakdown. Quick Cut helps simplify the process and allows coaches to spend more time teaching and developing players. Learn more at quickcut.com. And what I mean by that, this is either for coaches, whether you're high school, college, middle school coach. They got a great system there at Quick Cut. And even if you're a fan, it's pretty reasonable pricing, and you can find tapes and break them down and all that good stuff. That's a big thing. So I hope, if you want to get over to quickcut.com, you can get that all looked at. We're going to head on over here, get this all set up now. Let's see here. All right, we're going to take a first look here at the Myles Smith kid out of Farmington Hills. Couple clips, and kind of watch him on tape. Here's what I say of him. He's a guy that jumps off the film. In my opinion, he's a no-doubter. Okay? It doesn't take a rocket science to tell how good this kid is. He'll put his hand in the ground here. Here he's shooting the gap, getting through. He's got unbelievable quickness. And he's got great length, as you can see, coming off the edge here at the top. Does a great job. Nice swim move here. He sets the tackle up, comes up the field and underneath. Tackle overreaches him because he's scared that he's going to run around him. And he does a good job of seeing it, ripping through, causes a fumble. And that hurt that quarterback. That was a big time hit. But you can see there, he's a guy that I think is going to be an outside rusher. He's got great strength. He's got great quickness. You can see his first 2 steps are really quick. Boom, boom. I mean, he's 3 yards in the backfield before anybody else really moves. And then he just runs this guy down. That's amazing. So he's a guy that I look at and say, yeah, he's a no-doubter. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that this kid can play, and he's worth every bit of what he gets to be an Indiana Hoosier. But that Myles Smith kid, Indiana's going to have to recruit hard because he's going to be a guy that is going to get a lot of interest, but he's a good-looking kid when it comes to what he does in that respect from a quickness point of view, size point of view, 6'3", about 220. That kid's going to be a 6'3", 250, 260 guy that can come off the edge, and he probably will have the potential, if he works at it, to be an NFL type of player. Let's take a look at the Purcell kid. This is a quarterback out of Illinois. What you're going to notice about this kid, he is mechanically sound in whatever he does. Here he is in the gun, taking a big drop, and you can see this throw here where he hits this guy down the sideline on the wheel route, and it's right on the money. The kid never breaks stride. Their tape isn't that great when it comes to this. Here's another one. Very comfortable in the pocket here. You can see he's pretty stationary, good protection, but another touch throw over the top. He's got a strong arm. And again, I've watched him in the Elite 11, and he's done really well with that. Here's a throw. This is an out cut almost from the opposite hash to the opposite sideline. That's a rip now. That's a throw. This is a big-time throw. He's got great mechanics, like I said before, and, I think Indiana got themselves a really good quarterback. Here he is on a kind of scrambling out of the pocket. They're kind of running verts, and they see him in trouble, and then he rips another one to the boundary on the move to his opposite side of the field. That's a big-time throw. This kid, I think, Indiana got a really, really solid quarterback guy there. Guys in the chat, if you think that this kid, you like this kid as well, go ahead and put a Y in there. If you don't, put an N in there. We'll see how many people look at it and say, well, I kind of like that kid. Or, I don't think we can all say yes on Myles from Farmington Hills, Michigan, because he's a big-time player. But we're going to take a look now at the running back, Dejan Talley-Rhodes, out of Washington, D.C. Whoops, hold on there. Got the wrong one, I think. Yep. Let's see here. Yeah, we'll just watch this one. It's just as good. Get a chance to see him here. Running back, like I said, 5'10", 210 pounds. You can see he's got great balance, but he runs with a great center of gravity. And that's one thing that Kalon Black did a great job. He was always a great pad level, in a position to fall forward for another 3 yards. Here he's just breaking tackles and great speed. And again, this kid was his number one recruit in D.C. And he had a lot of interest from some of the blue bloods, and you can see why. Here's a great cut, I think. Yeah, this is the one where he gets a great cut, running inside zone, great feel. He sees the cut, makes the plant, and he's off to the races. And these two guys have angles and speed on him, but he still outruns them. This is a great thing to see when you look at a fast running back that did what he did there, made a great cut, but took it to the house. And Indiana hasn't had that. I look for them to have it this year with what they've got coming back in the backfield. But he's another kid that adds that piece of the puzzle to hit the home run ball on some of these plays. But good football. Here's him running the outside zone stretch play. Again, great feel, understands the cut, makes it. And he is not going to come down with an arm tackle. He's just not going to, you're going to have to wrap this kid up, which I like a lot. And that's why he said he reminded me a lot of Kalon Black in terms of how he ran it and his center of gravity. There's a good look at his speed. This is a great look at his speed right here. And why do I say that? He hits the lane. Great blocking out here by the wideout. Blake blocking by the lead back. He hits the seam. Guy's got angles, and he outruns them. And I think he's going to be a special kid. Again, I think he's a 4-star kid. Now, right now, they've got him as a 3-star. He came yesterday labeled as a 4-star. I do think he's that. But again, doesn't really matter what their star is. Can the kid play and fit a role at Indiana? And there's no question this kid can play and be a guy that can get it done in that respects. This is the kid out of Georgia. No, this kid is out of Ohio, I believe. Take a look here. Yeah, this is this is the kid. I'm sorry, I had him out of Georgia. He's out of Milton. That's right. He's a kid that played at big ball in Ohio, Milton. Don't know why I had it from Georgia, so my apologies there. But you can see this kid why he reminds me of Charlie. You know, he's kind of a big body kid, got great release. There's an opportunity, kind of a back shoulder throw concept where he adjusts his body, makes a play. You know, Becker did that as good as anybody. Here's a good route where he's running what we call a whip route. Does a great job on this route. Sells the slant, puts his foot in the ground, comes out on a level. What I mean by this, so he hits this top of the route and he comes out. What most kids have a tendency to do is drift this way, which allows this guy to undercut it and pick it. But he does what he's taught to do is he comes back towards this way to keep this kid on his hip. So when he catches it, he's got a chance to make a turn up the field and make at least a couple yards. Now here's one, breaks some tackles, makes another tackle, and that's just a great overall effort by that kid. And he is a big-time player. So he's going to be a guy that will do something with Indiana in terms of his ability. Now, here's the kid. This is a sharp kid out of Brownsburg. And I know somebody had a question about Monshawn Sells earlier, and if we had any updates, I do not. You know, I do think you got Alabama, Texas, pretty heavily involved with him, of course, Indiana. And so, you know, that's going to be a dogfight to keep him in state with some of those guys, but we'll wait and see. I think Indiana's sitting good with him, just hasn't made a final decision. But here's the kid from Brownsburg. This kid can run. Small in stature, kind of a jailbreak screen type of concept. You can see here, once he gets going, he's out and running. And what we teach on the jailbreak screen, and this one, of course, he's going to do a good job because this one's really designed to go this more over the ball. But we teach him to hit, we tell him to run it, hash, number, and sideline. And you watch him here, what he does. Here hits the numbers, and then he's going to get to the sideline, and he's going to outrun guys that even got angles on him for a big-time play. Again, he's not big in stature whatsoever. Outside down here at the bottom, this is a great route. He's going to run a post route here. He stems him. What I like about this route, and this is how I would coach it, when you're running an inside route, you want to make sure you're selling that outside route to get this guy to turn and then rip right underneath him. And that's what this is what Sharp does here. Does a great job of it right there. Boom. And you see, as soon as he got that guy turned, he stuck his foot in the ground and ran a post over the top. And this was a great throw by the quarterback because he, what we call, threw him open. But that right there shows you how good of a route runner he is because he understands the concepts of how to set a route up. And sometimes that's the hardest thing for kids to quite understand and grip when they're running routes is how do I set a route up? You know, when I'm going to an outside break or an inside break. And that right there was a perfect route, post route running with his setting the route up perfectly in that regard. So again, he's an awesome player as well, as you can see. Let's go to the kid from Noblesville, the big tackle here quickly as well. And some of the film gets a little dark here. He's number 77 here, left tackle. And he's going to overmatch most of the guys that he's going to play, but you're going to see his technique. Here's a good technique and how he's coming out on this particular play. And he gets a big time pancake. He's a big time kid, big body, well coached. Here's him doing great in pass pro. Kind of throws a guy by And again, he takes him down, lays on top of him. I love it. Very aggressive, but like I said, he does a great job with his hands. Watch this one. This is a great double team. Boom. And he gets that. He whiffed on 44 because he came under. But that double team, my goodness, they knocked that kid into the front row. Okay, outside zone concept. He does a great job in reaching. You can kind of see him taking a bucket step, as we call it, to get himself in a position that he can stretch this defender. And he did a great job to get the ball to the outside there. They messed it up. They had a great play. But you can see how that kid, fundamentally speaking, is where he needs to be. He's going to add some strength. He's going to add a little bit more weight, but he's a guy that could be a legitimate backup type, especially if he comes in that January period and they get a chance to work with him. He's a guy that can be a potential guy that can step on and be a good depth guy. Here is the kid, Perez, Michigan City, and you'll see the difference. I'm sorry, this is the kid out of Columbus, the D lineman. We'll get back to Jeremiah Jones, but this kid here, you can see why I think boom, boom. Again, I think he's got good length. He's got good get off. I do think he's going to mature into a 3 technique because of the way he's going to add the weight and everything. They use him. They stand him up sometimes, like here, coming off the edge. Look out. Whack. I like the way this kid plays. I mean, this is a very prestigious school over in Columbus. And again, they're running down. I think he projects as a 3 technique. I could be totally out to lunch, but that's where I see him because I think he's going to be that 6'5", 300-pounder that he puts some weight on. Kid is right now looks good, very good in that regard. Let's see here. Got a question. Wow, that got blown up. What happened there? I don't know. I'll read it though. Anybody beyond Smith, Talley-Rhodes, McDermott, and Perez? I need some new information. Nothing dropped today, John. Nothing has dropped today. Indiana does a good job of spacing out their commitments. So they give you a taste, give you 2 or 3, pause a day, come out with some more. And I look for that to happen more over the next few days. Here's the Jeremiah Jones kid. This is the tackle from Michigan City that I think is a project, but you'll see why. He's a big, tall, lanky kid. He is, I believe, the left tackle. Yes, he's the left tackle in this picture. And you can see he doesn't move his lower half all that great right now and getting a base and moving and chopping his feet. But I do think this kid's got a potential to develop into a really good tackle. Here you can see his quickness. Boom. He's got that guy. Then he does a great job of finding somebody in the off-color jersey to go block. And again, Bostad, I think he takes kids like this all the time and makes them, first team all Big Ten. Did it at Wisconsin fairly regularly. These are the type of guys that he likes, the big, tall, lanky guys that come in, they put them in the weight room for a few years, and then they're big time. Okay, left tackle again at the top. So this is a really good job of him getting up to the next level. And he does a great job of following through with, the assignment per se. Get some down here at the bottom. Again, good movement first step, gets up to the level, gets himself a block. So again, this kid, what I see with him as a project kid, he's a project guy, but he has all the other intangibles. He's got the size, he moves well. He's going to be a 300 plus pounder by the time he's, sophomore, junior by a junior year for sure. And if he can maintain his quickness and build some upper body strength, I think you got another big time player coming in for Indiana at that spot. Let's jump over to, let's see here, jump over to defense here quickly. Brady Scott, this is a kid out of Massachusetts. And here's there at the free safety. You can see here rotating. They're rotating into a cover 3 look. So he's got the middle third. He does a great job putting in his eyes on the route runner and quarterback, and he makes a pick because the quarterback doesn't know where he's at. This time he's on the outside as a corner and does a good job on the double move to make a pick. So they kind of moved him all around. But I think he's more of a safety for Indiana. Here he comes. This is one. He reads it. He's coming down. Get out of my way. That's great. Right there, boom. And then he goes, makes the tackle. I like the way this kid plays. I really do. I think he's smart. I think he has a great football sense. Here he is, understanding he's getting a run read. He's coming down to be that 8th man in the box, and he's right there with his partner to make the tackle. So that's the Scott kid out of Massachusetts. And I really like that kid. Let's watch Hobbs, the other safety, and get a feel for him as well. He's right there by the 40-yard line. Running a drag route, just a bad throw here, but he's in a position to make the play, makes the pick, and takes it back. Athlete. Here he is again, kind of being what we call a robber. They're running a jailbreak screen. Some big old linemen running out there, and watch this. Boom. Gotta like that kid. Another one here. We'll see him coming down, I think. Again, he's kind of playing a robber type of coverage. They kind of let him kind of be free and in their scheme of things. And he'll hit your ass. Excuse my language, but I like this kid because he's going to take your head off. You come across there. That's a great play of reading it and making the hit, almost dislodging the ball. Okay, wait for it. Yeah, big time play here. So you can see why Indiana liked this kid as well, because the way he runs, he's got the athleticism to go make plays in space, and he has good football sense in that respect. But he's a big time player in that, from that concept. But Scott and him are big time. Rico, let's see here. There he is. Here's the only corner they've got on the board right now. Oops. Move forward. He's out there on the East Coast. He's down here at the bottom, kind of playing a cover 3 type of coverage, deep third. See how this kid drifts vertically? This wide receiver, instead of staying in that plane to keep him on his backside, he ends up drifting. He reads it and snaps it right underneath him and picks it off. That's good awareness, Great coverage, great play. This is the one that kind of reminded me of D'Angelo a little bit in his reaction to the run play. Great hit, lay some wood. So he's a kid that loves to play the game. Here he's playing up at the top. And good technique and position. And again, bad throw, they get a tip, and he's there to make the pick. See if I can get one more. Okay, yeah, this is the other one. He's also a specialist. And here you get a good look at his speed. And you can see he's got great speed. So Rico Jackson, he's another one that, again, he reminds me a little bit of Pons. Not saying that he's going to be it, but he reminds me a little bit of it. A guy that can play and has a little bit of grit to him as a corner, and really like the way he attacks the thing. And those other two guys at safety, Hobbs and Scott, I do think those two guys are big time players and will be great in Brian Haynes's defense. As you think about it, they got some great players coming in. Like I said earlier, the foundation of the blue chips, those guys are there. Then you start piecing the puzzle around him. I think we had a question too. Okay. Robert had a question. How many players are we looking to recruit in the current cycle? I think they're going to be in that 20, 25 area. They did have a big class graduate. So I do think they're going to be in that. Remember, they can only have, I think it's 105, 110 this year. Remember, that number of people that they can have walk on and things like that will gradually cap back to 100 at some point here in the next couple of years. But for now, I think I think they can have 105 if I'm not mistaken. But again, some of these recruiting wins, when you look at it, Perez, he has a high ceiling. You got Smith, who I think is a guy that may come in here and be right in the rotation at defensive end. You got, Rhodes as the running back. I think Hobbs and Scott may be a little bit underrated. I think both those guys can play. I do think the Scott kid has some leadership abilities by the way he handles himself on the field, like that aspect. Of course, Purcell is a kid that I think's got leadership written all over him. I think he's a guy that guys would follow. And you go right on down that class. It's a good start, 11 to date. Probably going to add 8 to 9 more if I'm guessing. And we'll see what all happens here over the next few weeks of June. But I wanted to take a good hard look at this as we've got some guys here already in the fold per se. 11 guys. They picked up some 4-stars. The brand awareness has been a big help now, where Indiana's being able to walk into schools like Washington, D.C., St. John's High School, and pick up a kid like Rhodes and some other guys, from the true battleground states of Ohio, Indiana, Michigan, and Illinois. And they've done quite well. But again, I think you can see it on tape. You guys can go look at more tape at the On3 and Rivals. They'll have a link to the kid's Huddle profile. You can get on there and watch more tape if you have more interest in them. But I do think, like New Life has said, a pretty impressive thus far of what Indiana has in the hopper. Now we just got to hold on to them till signing date. But that's the beauty of recruiting. because you may lose some guys along the way, and we'll see what all happens there. Well, I appreciate you guys joining me here tonight as Indiana continues to build for the future. This class is so far strong and deep, in my opinion. And I do think they're going to continue to get some of these 4-star guys, maybe a 5-star. We'll see. And I believe Sig has raised the bar when it comes to recruiting, not because of how he's come in here and structured his rosters, but all at the same time, he's changed the culture, not only in the locker room, but within the fan base. That has led to a big-time brand awareness that you're able to get these kids. But thank you for joining me tonight here. Be back next Thursday, 7:30, and we'll keep continuing to talk about this Hoosier football team and recruiting. Again, as we get through the month of June, before we know it, we're under 100 days before the first game. It's crazy to think about that. But until next Thursday, I'm the Coach Shannon Griffith, and this has been the Hoosier Tailgate live on thehoosier.com. Good night, everybody.